welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we are back for another episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is season 17, this is episode 4, and it's called Where's the Beef and the Budget? ? And before we get into this episode, yes, I'm still not on camera, which also means your girl is still not 100%. I will say at this point, truthfully, I'm probably right now about 80%. I would feel a lot better if I didn't have to work over the weekend and I wasn't so tired. But one thing I will say that I finally did is I finally got to go to the gym. So I got a good start this week. I'm clearly not sick enough where I don't feel like I can't go to the gym. But I do at least feel like at this point that I can, be around other people without getting other people sick. That's the main thing. But I'm just not 100%. So there is that. But, yeah. Other than that, I know that's not why you're here. So let's actually get into what we got going on with this review. So first things first. We start off the episode where we actually did not have a single Housewives montage this episode. So this was actually a fun-filled episode, but I will say immediately who was not in this episode, Drew. Drew apparently had some type of respiratory infection, so we did not see her at all in this episode. And I must say this, and this is similar to last week when Kelly wasn't on the show, neither of them were really missed, which I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but it seems like because of this cast being such a large ensemble cast, if one or two people or if one person's missing from the show, it's like the next woman up and it's fine. But I will say this, even though Kelly was in this episode, it's still giving that she is a friend of. I feel like at this point, and I didn't think I was going to say this, but now at this point with episode 4, I feel like Cynthia is bringing just as much as Kelly. And Kelly is and Cynthia is truly a friend of, but I feel like Cynthia actually has a trip that they're going to be going to next episode that she's hosting. Which typically you don't hear friend ofs hosting anything, but other than in Beverly Hills where we have the Kathy Hiltons of it all. And then of course in Miami, they don't treat the friend ofs the same, but maybe that is a new trend with the Housewives of friend ofs. If they are like a very known seasoned friend of, they're no longer getting treated the same, giving the same treatment. But it does kind of show when a full-time housewife isn't bringing as much. So I will call that out. But anyway, so we do start off the episode though with Pinky, and she meets up with her team at Slutty Vegan, and they're getting ready for a community event that she does, I guess, every year where she gives back to the community. And then she does, and side note, I actually, after seeing her shop, I realized I haven't been to Slay Vegan. I thought I have, but I've been to another vegan spot in Atlanta. It wasn't Slay Vegan. I think it was on my list. I just didn't get to go. So I just wanted to call that out. I have not been to Slay Vegan, and it still is on my list to go and check it out and support. But anyway, so then Kelly does join her, and they talk about the businesses. They're bonding over that. And we find out, and then they both kind of talk about bankruptcy, and Kelly saying, yeah, girl, I'm going to do the same thing. We know with Kelly, this divorce is killing her. But also, one thing that I will say that I don't know if it's true when it comes to Pinky Cole versus Kelly, I am questioning, is Kelly good with money? I don't know why I don't have that same feeling when it comes to Pinky Cole than I do with Kelly. I think with Pinky Cole, I don't feel the same way because before this show, I knew who Pinky Cole was. I knew she had this successful business. Like, she was a name. Like, if you are someone who, is a foodie or a restaurateur or someone who likes to go to different places around the world, you knew who she was. Like, her name is a name. Kelly, she didn't really she doesn't have that kind of a name when it comes to like her restaurants. She's known for a book, but not really restaurants, and that's not the same kind of thing. So I don't know why I feel one way versus the other, but anyway, they do talk about that. And again, Pinky is telling everyone but her husband about this bankruptcy. And to me, is wild to me that she's doing that. And I feel like her husband's going to watch his back and is like, what is this? And so we find out, though, that Pinky then, of course, shares with Kelly how she, was going to say something to, not Portia, but, Phaedra, because of the fact that Shamia said that Phaedra said that she eats meat. And so that is what is going on. So we're seeing that. And so, yeah, Pinky feels a way about it still. But then as she's explaining this to Kelly has this look, and we find out Kelly's been spreading this rumor as well, but she actually has been saying it. We do find out later on the episode, yes, Phaedra has something shady to say, but did she say that this woman eats meat? Semantics wise, no, she did not. She just suggested it based upon her owning a Jamaican restaurant before, but you could take that one way or the other. You could take it as shady or not shady, because I could have sworn that Pinky told us that she owned a Jamaican restaurant before. I thought we knew that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I just know that from knowing her business ventures and stuff, but I could have swore I already knew that about her. But so I'm assuming at one point in time she ate meat. Like, most people are not just vegan right away, but it's the timeline of her being vegan that's the problem. And I don't think at this point Phaedra is being shady about it, but it's giving she's being shady about it because she got dragged into this. But I feel like Phaedra knew what she was doing at the same time. So I'm still trying to understand where we saw this footage. So I forgot to mention. So in the footage where we see later on, Phaedra did say something about her owning a Jamaican spot. She was talking to Shamia over the phone. Now, I don't know the full context, but the thing that's tricky about it is it's still coming from Shamia. So I just want you to keep that in mind. We'll talk about it a little bit later on. But anyway, we find out, though, and I'm not sure when we're going to get to this, but Kelly was actually doing what she's accusing Phaedra of doing, but she legitimately was doing it. And Pinky, this episode, her confessionals were cracking me up. She was like, are you a cavity? When's the last time you've been in my mouth? Like, why are you at? I was like, Pinky. She had her confessionals today. This episode was good. I feel like Pinky did a great job this episode. I am liking her on this show. I don't know if I like her as a person, but I do like her for this show so far. But then towards the end of this scene, both Kelly and Pinky both suggest, hey, let's do a bankruptcy party. And that's kind of where we end it here. So in the next scene, we find out that Cynthia is, she is building a brand herself. And we find that out by the way of Shamia. So this is actually a Shamia scene. And we find out that Cynthia invited all the girls to Dallas to launch her tequila brand that she is basically working with, I believe it's Adrienne. I forgot her last name, but she's from, she's a alumni of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. They partnered up and they're doing a tequila brand together. And so she's having this whole entire conversation with Gerald. And one thing I will notice about Shamia's scenes is it's giving Shamia don't really got friends like that this season. I feel like she rubbed a lot of people the wrong way last season, and her scenes so far this season have been at her house, and they have been really only with Kelly and Angela, because Angela, will get along with anyone and everyone for the most part, and Who else? Pinky. So I don't know how Shamia's moving and stuff, but it doesn't work. I think she needs to kind of fix some of this because, girl, if others won't film with you on the show, you're going to end up having a problem later. Shamia, of course, is in group scenes, but when it comes to I feel like the way Shamia was introduced to us last season, she was supposed to be the glue for everyone, and she clearly is not. Right now, I would say that Angela is more or less that than anyone else, because Angela doesn't really have any real problems with anyone for the most part yet. But anyway, so we find out about this Dallas trip, and then she's talking to Gerald, and Gerald clearly does not want to be on camera. She jokes about, hey, do you want to come, we're allowed to have a +1, because apparently there's going to be a gala. And also, Shamia had this dress on she was trying on. It was a tacky looking dress, but it's Shamia. Shamia is very tacky when it comes to her fashions. But what I will say is, I noticed it in the first couple episodes, but Shamia looks good. I just want to call it out. Especially, I love her with the long hair. It makes her look so, almost model-esque. I like it. I will say that. One thing about Shamia is she is a good-looking woman, so I will say that. But the other thing that was in discussion in this scene is we did talk about them trying the surrogacy again. Now they are deciding to go with a different person this time because things didn't work out when it comes to apparently they had a failure the first time, and so they're deciding to go with someone else. And they really only have one more embryo left for a male to try to get this boy to happen. And Gerald is still trying to be optimistic about the situation, but if this doesn't work out, they're going to come up with some other routes. But as I mentioned before, Gerald clearly does not want to film on the show, does not want anything to do with the show. He's filming to support his wife, and I think the other reason why we're having more solo scenes with Shamia, either, it might be what I said initially, or it could be this other reason that Gerald will not film otherwise unless they're in their home. That's the other thing I'm getting. If it's individually with them, he'll film. He will not show up for anything else. And I also think that is going to be a problem later on too. Either way, this is going to become a problem with Shamia if she really wants to still be on this show. But anyway, that's neither here or there. That's it for that. So next we have Portia, and she's at her house, and Mike from the guy that, she was dating and is kind of, I guess, dating, and I'm using air quotes, that was in the first episode, he's back, and she is just talking to him about, the divorce settlement and the things that are going on with her in the news, and basically in order to keep her house that she's in now, she's planning on selling her mom's house, which is a house that she actually purchased in Duluth back after her first marriage. And she's saying that it feels very sweet that she's doing this, but she feels like she needs to do it. And then she kind of did break down. She's like, unbeknownst to a lot of people, I actually someone who plans things out. Clearly she does, but because, child, the way she scammed the scammer, she definitely is a woman with a plan. She's ditzy, but child, when it comes to the things that really matter to her, she's going to get that. But then they did have a conversation after this about more kids or no kids. And he basically says that's a deal breaker. I honestly am not invested in this whole thing with her and Mike because I don't think that this whole thing with her and Mike is real. So I don't really care. But the other things that she mentioned in the scene was enough for me to be engaged. And plus Portia's just entertaining. I will say that. But I do hope next season we stop with these men who you're not really dating. Because I do honestly later, and not to skip ahead, I find her dynamic between her and Dennis way more interesting than her dating. I'll be honest with you, but we'll get into that later on the episode. Next. Okay, so then next we see that K. Michelle is with her team, and she's actually getting prepared and ready for the girls' trip. From the way this looked like in this scene, you would have thought that the girls' trip was happening this episode, but it must be happening immediately after this episode wraps up. Or she's just someone who packs ahead of time, but she's talking to her team about the girls, and she's nervous about having a girls trip because we know that we found out that K Michelle's never been on a girls trip ever. And so she's nervous and excited all at the same time. And then she talks a little bit about, so that's pretty much it when it comes to that. I guess I was kind of skipping ahead, but that's pretty much all we get from K Michelle this episode. She does show up later on the episode and does her big one when it comes to the Pinky situation. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. So at the beginning of the episode, when it comes to this community thing, Pinky assigned all the women to bring something when it comes to this community event. And I don't know how she assigned it, but we're going to find out in this next scene that I'm going to talk about how shady her assignments were, because some of the people she was asking for more than others. And considering the fact that she just met these women, she is kind of asking for a lot. But at the same time, it is for charity, so I respect it. But yeah, it is rubbing some of the girlies the wrong way, and we're going to get into that next. So then next we see that Portia invites Angela and Phaedra to basically do, it looked like some type of fun trap spin class. And side note, this just makes me want to try to do some other workouts and stuff. And I think I'm going to start doing that this summer. For example, my gym now has Pilates. I think I might actually start doing that just because I feel like I need to switch up my workout and switch out my routine. But anyway, neither here nor there. That's just kind of what this made me think of. But they basically get their workout in, and Phaedra's joking about how, she doesn't want a man who works out anymore, shading Apollo. And it's like, girl, the fact that Phaedra, what I've discovered, and I kind of already said this before, Phaedra is clearly on this show for the nostalgia of it all, because outside of that, what is she bringing? Even with this conflict that she has with Pinky, it's not really, it's giving as she kind of somewhat manufactured it herself. So we find out Phaedra's why does, she's basically talking to Angela about it, because Angela explains what Pinky said to her about Phaedra, and Phaedra's girl has bigger fish to fry. She is going through some financial difficulties. Why is she talking to me about whether she's eating meat or not? But also too, Phaedra's I've known her for years, so why all of a sudden she's saying all this to you guys but not talking to me about it? Which I do agree with her on that. It is kind of weird, but I'm noticing that as a pattern with Pinky so far in the show. She talks to everybody about things before she goes to the person. So everyone, about time she goes to the person that she has a problem or needs to talk to, everybody already knows about it. That is what I'm noticing. She's 2 for 2 when it comes to this so far. I'll just say that. And so Phaedra's just yeah, we could talk about and clear things up, but that's just weird. I never said that about her. And child, they roll this beating footage back and find out she didn't quite say that. She just said that she basically insinuated that without saying it. Now, Shamia, because she's messy, did the interpretation for her and told her that that's what was said. And so it's, to me, I will say this, it's a combination of them two. Pinky with love. I would never trust something that Shamia said to me that someone else said, because she does have a tendency of doing that, of interpreting things and putting 20 on 10. But at the same time, Phaedra did that on purpose. She knew what she was doing. It's both of them. I feel like both of them are the problem. And so I would be, if I was Pinky, I would be side-eyeing both of them. Just saying. Anyway, so that's kind of it on that. And we move on to Angela and her Fangelas. So Angela's now having a business meeting with her team. And basically, we finally are seeing in action her deciding she is going to make a profit out of her being a hot woman. I joke. But basically, we're seeing her put together her fan line because of, her always carrying a fan. And we find out that she really is trying to have a win. And she is showing us how much of an entrepreneur she really is. But she did, in this case, it seems like this is a business venture that Charles actually does believe in. And I think it is a good venture because it's a easy layup to me, because that's all she does is carry a fan. And I will probably end up buying a fan of hers, because once I saw that these type of fans exist and saw her doing that, why this past summer I brought me a fan and was bringing that with me too. As someone who also has personal summers, I was like, yes. I'm glad nothing. I brought me a fan, and I'll be walking with that too in the summer months. So yeah, I get it. But anyway, Charles does show up towards the end of this. And by the way, Charles was actually in the last scene when it looked like Charles dropped her off at the workout. And Charles in this episode was in his best behavior for the most part. So basically, he was at this meeting though, and she explains what will be needed. And this is towards the end of the meeting. She's like, yeah, can you put half in on this investment? And they need a total of 50,000. So he will put in 25,000. She'll put in 25,000. And he's like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. And so that's pretty much it on that. And of course, Angela in her confessional jokes about how she knows how to get him to put the money down. She knows how to go to the bank of Charles. I was like, I know that's right. But speaking of, I forgot to mention this at the first thing. I keep forgetting about so many things because so many things happened in this episode. When Pinky was talking to Kelly about the bankruptcy of it all, Kelly asked the obvious question: does your husband know? And of course, the answer was still no. And Kelly was like, if you don't let this man help you out. And I was thinking the same thing. It doesn't make any sense. But then later on in this episode, I was like, I'm seeing why now she's hesitant. I'm getting it now. But anyway, we'll get into that when we get into that. But I just forgot to put that little detail out there because that is kind of important. Anyway, we'll get into that detail very shortly because the next scene is her event. Okay, so then next we see that it is Pinky's event, and this is when we find out in this scene that Drew is sick, so she won't be making an appearance at her event. Phaedra and Portia, we see they're actually over at Phaedra's house, and they're eating food before they go to Pinky's event because they're like, child, we're not vegan. We need some meat, apparently. And at this point, Phaedra's son shows up. He talks about how he needs a nap. And I'm just like, what? I am not going to hold you. I was with Portia and Phaedra when they were like kind of making fun of her, son needing a nap. I wish I would be that age and ask for a nap. The way I did not really, really start taking naps until I was like 24, 25. Like, you're not that busy. And I mean, yes, okay, you got a lot going on in high school, but I feel like that's what your youth is supposed to carry you. I feel like when you are in your mid-20s is when you're like, oh, okay, I'm burning all the candles and all the ends. And that's when you start taking a nap. Like, about time I started taking a nap, I had 2 jobs, going to school full time, and was going to the gym and working out and being a runner. Like, the runner and working out was the 2 extra ingredients that need to happen for a nap to happen. But before those 2 extra things were added in, your girl did not take naps. So I'm just kind of like, what is happening? But but now, child, I wish I couldn't have time for a nap. I never have time for a nap now, and I'd be wanting one so badly. But anyway, so they're still shading, well, not really they. Phaedra is still shading Pinky, and I'm just like, girl. And Portia's like, don't do that. Because Portia's still trying to be neutral when it comes to this situation. But back at Pinky's event, we see that Pinky's husband is there, but then he leaves. Apparently, he had his own thing going on, but at the same time, I'm like, and that is why Pinky doesn't trust you. That is it right there. She does not trust for you to be there for her because right there you showed her that you cannot be there for her fully. You have your own things going on, which I respect, but you knew what this meant to her and you just couldn't show up. You couldn't put that aside and make it do what it do. Because he was literally only there, I feel like, at this event for like 5 minutes and he was gone. So like about time all the other women showed up, he wasn't there anymore, which that is not good. So now I'm really starting to see, oh, that's what it is. He's not really putting in the effort as much as he's given us this word salad of him being there. He's not, his actions are not matching his words. That's kind of what I'm getting here. Anyway, but then we see that Cynthia shows up, Kelly shows up, and also eventually Kelly and Portia, so Portia and Phaedra do eventually show up. And the way Pinky was narrating how Kelly and Portia were acting towards each other, she's like, child, you would have thought it was Nicki and Cardi B in the same event. The way they weren't talking to each other, you would have thought that they had slept with the same man the way they ignored each other. I was like, child, I can't. And then in the confessional, Kelly is still trying to make this Portia thing a thing. She's like, yeah, because Portia apparently didn't realize when you go to this restaurant, all the things are called slutty vegan because, you know, like Pinky's reformed slut, and that's what she says. And so all the different things on the menu are named based off of that. And so she, Kelly just kept calling her, like, I should order a Portia sandwich or something like that. And she just kept saying all these things that were just shading Portia to the point where the producers of the confessional was like, are you done? She's like, I think I am now. I was like, oh my gosh. This episode, I was entertained. This was cracking me up. And then after that, then we do see then that Angela and Shamia arrive. And then we get right into it a little bit where Pinky confronts Phaedra immediately. He's like, you said I've been eating meat? And she's like, no. And then basically Phaedra's like, I didn't say that. Shamia said that. Which is kind of true, but it's kind of not. And then we see the footage, and then this is when I said what I said about neither of them are trustworthy. I'll be siding both of them. But what gets me about this is after the argument starts really, really taking off, because they start getting into it, like Shamia and Phaedra. And Phaedra says, you don't even like me, so da-da-da-da-da. And so they're going back and forth. She's like, well, I could have swore that's what you said. And it's like, see, Shamia, this is why you need to mind your own business. Like, that's always been the problem with Shamia. She don't be minding her own business. Like, I don't even know what was the reason for her to do that. Because she did the same thing last season with Portia and Drew. And she's doing it again. Even though this time, I feel like Phaedra was being shady at the same time, because Phaedra do be shady like that. So it's 1A, 1B. But at the same time, it's like, it wasn't your place to do all that. So then, as they're going back and forth, Pinky interrupts him. She's like, we're not doing that at my event. Like, you could do that. We could do that in Dallas, but we're not doing that here. And the way Cynthia piped up, she's like, we're not doing that in Dallas. We're not doing that at my event. We're going to figure this out right now. And so they decide they're going to tape it and drop it. And so the event continues on, but we see now that there's a little bit of tension now between Pinky and Cynthia. She's like, child, let her have her way. We're not going to ever get a word in wise. And I'm like, oh, okay. And what I found strange was it just feels like it came off this way. Why after this one interaction, we're getting this? I don't know if we missed something, but afterwards, then we see Pinky interrupts him from talking, and she makes her announcement saying, like, thank you for everyone for coming. But at the same time, you saw in the background that Cynthia looked like she kind of felt away that she interrupted her again. But this is Pinky's event, so she could do that. So I was confused. But anyway, that's kind of where we leave it. But then we thinking we're leaving it. Pinky and her confessional jokes about, like, you know, I'm going to get to the bottom of who said what, because they're messing with someone who used to be producer of the Maury show. So like, I don't know why they're doing all this. We're gonna get to the bottom of it. And then, child, why did Maury Povich come on this show? Like as if it was Maury, and then I thought there was a commercial, but it was Maury. But we know it's not a commercial because Maury, that show's not on anymore because he retired. And he's like, in the case of Pinky being vegan, she is still vegan, basically. And then they show Pinky saying, yes, thank you, Maury. And that's kind of where we end the scene. It was cute. It was funny. And I was not expecting Maury to randomly pop up on my screen in the middle of a Housewives show. It kind of cracked me up. I'm not going to hold you. So then next we see Portia and her sister Lauren, and we see that Lauren's daughter along with Portia's daughter, they're playing and getting snacks. And then out of nowhere, Dennis pops up on our screen, and he's being nosy all up in her house, trying to figure out what's going on with Portia, trying to figure out where these flowers come from and everything. As Portia already shares with them, like, hey, I guess this person is her business manager or something. They're trying to get their podcast going again. And I was kind of confused on whose podcast it was. I don't know. I was trying to figure out, was she saying it was her and her sister's podcast? Is it her and Pilar's podcast? Or is it her and Dennis' podcast? I have no idea. But apparently she wants a podcast again. But then as they're having this conversation, Lauren and Dennis kind of go back and forth because Dennis tries to steal the note that was on these roses, and Lauren gets it back, and then she throws the note away, and then Portia gets really, really defensive right away. It's like, why are you in my business about dating? And Dennis is like, yo, your picker's wrong. I need you to you need to sit down, stop dating so much. And Portia's like, I need you not be in my business. And so they get back, they go back and forth. It gets heated. It almost kind of gives me Portia's Family Matters, the way they were going back and forth, because they were bickering. And she's like, you know what? Get up out of my house, this, that, and this. And, but at the same time, I hate to say this, Dennis, the gremlin, he had a whole entire point about what he was saying about Portia. Portia does need to chill and stop trying to date constantly and zipping in and doing it. But at the same time, is it really that man's place to say that to her? The answer is no. No, it's not. I get why he's saying it from a parenting standpoint, because it really long term, that can't be healthy, her going from man to man. But I don't know. Who knows? Is she introducing these people to her daughter? I'm wondering of how that is going. And also, too, but at the same time, she's a public figure, so I don't know how her daughter wouldn't find out. These are things that I'm not sure how that would go. But if she did have a child, I think this would be none of his business. But the thing is, she does have a child, and so there's a little bit more at play here, which is why he kind of has a right to be in her business. But at the same time, she of course is getting defensive about it. And you know what? No matter what you say, them two have attention. And it's not just, there's still sexual tension there. I'm sorry. I hate to call a thing a thing. I don't know what it is about Portia and Dennis, but I feel like if Dennis was able to commit and actually, if Portia was ever to really be able to fully take this man seriously, they would get back together. But look at him. There's no way. I mean, he was looking like he was coming from some 90s party. I wouldn't be taking that man seriously, but I get, and so I see why she doesn't take him seriously. But I feel like if she could, they would have been back together forever ago. That's neither here nor there. Okay, so in the final scene in this episode, we see that Pinky and her husband, they are running together, and they're just kind of just going over how the event went. And she does share with him immediately after they finish running together about how she wished he would have been around longer for the event. And so they kind of go back and forth with that a little bit. But then from there, she does then finally tell this man about this bankruptcy thing. And he is in shock, number one. Number two, he's hurt that he didn't know about it, and he's still finding out these things in the news, and she's not telling him. But also, too, this is one question I've been wanting to ask this whole entire time. If he's finding these things out in the news, why isn't he coming to her with this? I feel like he's still waiting for her to come to him. And that also, to me, is not comforting. And I also feel like he's not actually asking her about what's going on. To me, she's a type where she's going to stay silent unless you talk to her about it and bring it to her attention. She's not going to divulge what's going on with her until she's on the other side of it for the most part. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm very similar to her. I'm kind of a similar person. Like, for example, I did not share what was going on with me, and I'm not going to share it again right now, but you can go back to my videos, but what I have been going on and why I haven't had a lot of videos, because the girl's been going through it. But like, I don't share that until I feel better. At this point, I'm on the other side. If I was really, really in a bad space, I wouldn't be doing any videos right now. Like, I would be, things would be delayed. I probably would abruptly stop doing this channel if things were really that bad. But I'm not at that point. But also, it takes a lot for me to get to that point also. So there is that. But, I say all that to say is that I do see where she's coming from of, you're not asking me about it, so therefore I'm not going to divulge about it, which is also not healthy. And the fact that he keeps saying she's a strong woman. I don't know. As someone who actually is a strong woman, the more I think about him saying that in that first episode, I would be bothered by that. And I actually dated someone kind of recently who kept saying that about me. And I'm just like, why are you saying that? It always gives me, it raises my antennas when you're calling that out about my personality. Like, and it's just unprovoked. Like, if I asked you about it, that's one thing. But if you're just bringing that up, I'm just wondering, why are you bringing that up? Do you think you're the prize? Like, I just have so many questions. It gives me red pill. I'm not going to hold you. But anyway. So, so she's like, yeah, I'm going through this. And he's just like, well, we'll get through this together. Like, no, you're not going to do the bankruptcy. I'm just going to give you the money. And she's just like, but the thing is, his first reaction is what got me. He's like, this is going to be a public embarrassment or a public spectacle. He mentioned public before he mentioned anything about how she's doing or how to handle it. And that is also another reason why I'm just like, and this is why she's not coming to you. This is exactly why she's not coming to you. You care more about the public thing than how she's really doing. Because that should not have been the first thing that came out of your mouth. Your first thing that should came out of your mouth is, how can we fix this together? What can I do to assist you with this? And also, you should have already known something was going on. Because to me, I feel like even though she's keeping things to her chest, there's certain things that I feel like she would not be able to hide all the way if this is literally your partner and you live with her. I have so many questions. I'm so confused why he's not picking up on these things. And it's giving that he is so self-absorbed in what he has going on that he's not paying attention to her for real. But at the same time, that's not completely his fault. She's also basically have been allowing that behavior from the beginning because she's been putting on as like her ego. It's a battle of the egos. Both of them are very ego-centered. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, I don't see their marriage lasting unless one of them, if not both of them, have a major ego death. Because both of them are leading when it comes to their relationship, with ego. And that never works. So, but anyway, that is where things ended. I want to know what your thoughts are. Like I said, this to me was a very good episode to me. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm enjoying this season so far. I know some people are just like, this isn't what I expect from Atlanta. And I'm just like, forget what you thought Atlanta was. You're not going to get that version of Atlanta back. Let it go. But anyway, that does conclude my video. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner. And I will see you next time. Bye.